Nick, including against Dimitri van den Berg, his fellow Premier League star, to reach the final day. But it was Damon Heta, the Aussie, who did for him in the end. The winner of this one will face the number 9 seed Danny Noppert, who we know is an incredibly dangerous player. But Vítězslav Sedlák, playing in just his second ever European tour, the man from the Czech Republic, is a potentially dangerous player. Chris Dobey should have enough. But then he's thrown stuff that should have won him a whole load of games this year, and it hasn't quite worked out. Rob Malarkey is alongside me for this one to see if Hollywood can put things right and get a few more W's next to his name, which he perhaps deserves.
Yes, he perhaps does. I don't think he'll be taking anything for granted, but he is an overwhelming favourite to win this one. He has already beaten a Czech player to make it into the field here. He overcame Karol Sedlák by 6-4 in qualifying, so another opportunity to take on another player from the Czech Republic in the shape of Vítězslav Sedlák, who, as you say, Dan, he's had one previous Euro Tour experience, losing to Michael van Gerwen in the second round on home soil in 2022. And he starts off with a 180. Now, I said Dobey wouldn't be underestimating him, and on that evidence, he's every right not to.
Well, Sedlák has been playing a lot of darts. He was playing the Moda stuff down in Portsmouth for a week recently. I believe Adam Gavlas is here, I assume just as some sort of support.
58.
There he is.
There he is, yeah.
UK Open semi-finalist Adam Gavlas, the Czech number 1. Now Chris Dobey hitting back with a 180 of his own. It's a potential 11-dart start for Hollywood.
Pressure required, 56.
Sedlák started off with a 180. He's lost his way since then. Dobey looking to pounce with the 11-darter, maybe a 12-darter to start things off. And that's exactly what he's done. Hold of throw for the Premier League player. You look at the players Sedlák beat in qualifying for this. In the Eastern European qualifier in Prague, it was a handful of players who've featured on the European Tour, the likes of Roman Benecki, Sebastian Białecki and Titus Karnik. Karnik was the final match, and it was the toughest one as well, 5-4. I think Dobey as well, one objective he'd like this year is a more comfortable passage into the European Championship. He scraped in last year, £14,000 on the order of merit. I mean, we saw Wesley Pleisier miss out with 14,000. He was just the wrong side of the dotted line. But Dobey went on to make the semi-finals of the European Championship. And looking back, you know, that kick-started what has been, let's face it, a career-changing 6 or 7 months for him.
Yeah, look, won the Masters, played brilliantly at the World Championship as well, until it all came to a shuddering halt against Michael van Gerwen. But then he did that to pretty much everybody he played, apart from Michael Smith in the final.
Yeah, and then a month after the World Championship, went to the Masters, won it, beat the newly crowned world champion Michael Smith on the way as well in the semi-final. And that in turn unlocked the door to the Premier League as well. Now the Premier League isn't working out for him, but good experience for Dobey.
Yeah, I don't, look, wherever he finishes, and look, he could end up finishing bottom of the table, I don't think he will, but wherever he finishes, I don't think it'll be too negative a thing for him. It'll only benefit him in the long term. But you know what? This has been a really good start from Vítězslav Sedlák. I know it was a brilliant 12-darter from Dobey to hold throw in the opener, but Sedlák's responded with a 14-darter. If he can keep up this sort of standard, then Dobey is in for a real test.
Yeah, and just looking at Dobey's bread and butter performances as well, he's picked up £6,500 on the European Tour so far this year. Hasn't made it beyond the last 32 of any of this year's Players' Championship events. So he's going to have to put that right sooner or later as well.
But again, you look at the Players' Championship stuff, he's in the top 20 of the averages list. He's averaging more than 95, and he hasn't managed to win 3 games in a row. He is constantly getting less rewards than the standard of his play merits.
So what's that down to, do you think?
Bad luck.
Bad luck, or
Does Chris Dobey, has he run over some cats, broken some mirrors? Is his house in Bedlington built on a Native American burial ground? I don't know.
if he has run over any cats, they are sure to be black cats, Daniel, if you get my gist.
I've done it deliberately late. Can't stand that lot.
But yeah, he's played well. Tell you what, Michael Van Gerwen's average on the Players' Championship event, 95.4. Chris Dobey's 95.1. Van Gerwen's won one. Dobey hasn't got off his board yet. Ooh, Viteslav, that was in with a chance when he let it go, wasn't it?
98. Chris require 130.
Yeah, and this may well have to go, Chris. Otherwise, punishment may be forthcoming. And it's not going to go. And Sedlák will return looking at
65.
72, a very manageable 72 as well. Let's see how he fares with this one. Very nicely done indeed. Double 12. Well, I'll tell you what, that's another 14 darter, back-to-back 14 darters, and that's a breaker throw as well.
This is good from Viteslav Sedlák. Look, when we saw him in Prague, he beat Jonathan Worsley. The game wasn't great. Sedlák won it with an 82 average. And then he averaged even less than that against Van Gerwen, who was pretty woeful himself. He only averaged 85, and he still won that game 6-2 MVG. In a bonkers weekend in Prague, and we will be going back to Prague very shortly on the European Tour. But that was the first time we'd seen him in big stage darts, Sedlák, and evidently he feels he's got a taste for playing proper elite level stuff.
83.
Because we're starting to see him, obviously, he's qualified for this. He's playing in the Moda stuff, the Battery Farm stuff down in Portsmouth. And
98.
he might, the regular action, the competition, he might start being able to bring out his better levels of performance, because this is the best I've ever seen. I know it's 4 legs in, but this is better than I've seen from Viteslav Sedlák. I mean, this year he's also started playing the Challenge Tour, and he's made a quarter-final. So he's playing more, and playing more against better players is the best way to improve yourself.
And he's very much swimming in what could have been a very much sinking environment. He's,
60.
yeah, I think you're right. I think he has, obviously, the building blocks are there with the Moda stuff, but these opportunities where he has been taking on the more illustrious players, the only way to go.
58.
That's not as big a dent out of that as Dobey would have liked. Sedlák, he can pick up a couple of trebles. Oh, well, that's not going to help.
76. Chris require 112.
Tops for parity at 2 apiece, and a break back straight away.
92. Viteslav require 122.
4/18s for Bull for 3-1. There's 3 of them. Oh, he's got 6, double 7 for 3-1. Oh, what a shot that would have been.
Chris require 20.
A missed start at double 7 for a 3-1 lead. Dobey looks at double 10, now looking at double 5, looking a little bit nervy as well, but Dobey finds double 5 and brutally aware of how close he was to finding himself in a real spot of bother there. As it is, 2 apiece, and parity is restored with the instant break back, but just another little warning sign there for Chris Dobey.
Well, there's not much between them at the minute. The one thing you would say is you would feel more confident that come the end of this game, Chris Dobey is maintaining the level that he's producing now than Viteslav Sedlák. But you can't rule it out. Can you? Ooh, lovely.
With the slips again from Dobey. 4 perfect darts there.
Easy one.
Yeah, just every now and then, Sedlák just has this stray dart into the 1. He's had that 2 or 3 times now, and okay, he's recovered slightly, but Dobey's done far too much in this leg.
135.
Well, brilliant leg darts from Chris Dobey, this.
Much needed step in the right direction after that wobble, and he'll be hoping it was just a wobble. I mean, he started off well enough with that 12 darter, but this could be an 11 darter to get his nose in front at 3-2. 2 bites at double 16.
Game shown, the 5th leg.
Yeah, really impressive stuff from Chris Dobey. Second 12 darter of the match. 3-2 up. Still on throw, effectively. This in the same little section of the draw as Nathan Aspinall, who'll be taking on Hannah Schneer, the Austrian host nation qualifier, in the second round tomorrow. And it's in the same quarter as the top seed Luke Humphries, Darryl Gurney, we've just seen beat Stephen Bunting, UK Open champion Andrew Gilding, and Matt Campbell, who kicked off this evening with a last leg deciding win over Ian White.
100.
Are we just starting to see Sedlák fade a little? Or has he got more? Well, it's pretty decent, but you still fancy Dobey could get to a finish on the Sedlák throw. Oh, potentially a good finish. Well, it's the 130 that he did have a look at earlier on and was unable to take out.
Just going to say, Sedlák needs something significant here, and it could be very significant indeed. Keeps himself interested, well, more than interested actually. Dobey needs this 130. Well, he might just get it, has the shot at the bullseye.
85.
Would have been back-to-back 12 darters for Chris Dobey. There's still work to do for Sedlák. Going to try and leave tops, which he does. And double toppies there. Great finish from Vítězslav Sedlák. Not flashy, not even that difficult, but given the context, vital.
96.
Well, he would have taken this at the start of play. 3 apiece. 1 break each at the halfway stage.
41.
Yeah, there we see again.
I think he would have taken that, but at the same time, if he'd said, Vítězslav, after 6 legs, Chris Dobey's going to be averaging 102 against you, he wouldn't be that keen on that. It's just dropped to 101 now, Dobey. And of course, that sort of gap in the averages, it can be bridged. Sedlák could end up winning with those sorts of numbers. Certainly Chris Dobey knows you can average over a ton more than your opponent and still lose a game. He's done it a number of times. Through his highest ever TV average in the Premier League just a couple of weeks ago. Still lost.
99.
Just a bit of a lull in the atmosphere and the crowd as well, as no doubt maybe saving something in reserve for the final match of the evening. Mensur is in the building, so
yes.
too the entire Suljevic family. Or the immediate family, not the entire family.
The Mensur anticipation has begun.
I think so. Treble 18 leaves double 16 for 4-3.
Game
That's
shot,
nicely played.
seventh leg. Chris Dobey. 8 leg, Wintersley
But it's a very
to
impressive
first.
display, this from Chris
Game on.
Dobey. I would go as far as to say, as from what we've seen so far, it might be the performance of the day. I thought Riccardo Pietrezco this afternoon with a couple of ton-plus checkouts was very, very impressive. There have been some notable wins. Hannah Schneer, of course, as host nation qualifier, managing to beat Jeffrey de Zvon. John Henderson was very good and finished brilliantly against Dylan Slevin.
Yeah.
But in terms of the numbers, this is about as good as we've seen from anyone, assuming that he ends up with numbers like this come the end of the game, and more importantly, wins the match to set up a meeting with Danny Noppert.
'94.
Sedlák, though, is proving very difficult to shake off, isn't he? And just when you think he might be on the slide, he comes up with a moment like that and just gives Dobey a little extra to think about. And Dobey is thinking about it, and he's responding in kind again with a 180 of his own. This is a good performance from both players in very different ways.
Yeah, it's got to be a singer for Sedlák. Because he is sticking in there and he is finding, you're right, just when you think, oh, maybe that's it, the challenge is fading.
58.
He does come up with something to suggest he's got more, and then Dobey hits him with something even harder.
And there he's just hit 58, and you know, if Dobey gives him the chance, which he will do, maybe Sedlák will come good again with a Shanghai finale here. You know, you wouldn't rule it out.
Require 120.
He could do with it because it's for a holder throw.
Oh, that's awkward. He's not moving. Oh, what a dart. Double top.
100.
Valiant effort.
Christian requires 65.
Yeah, especially after that first dart. But it may all be in vain because Dobey returns looking at 65. He's hit single 11 there for 14 and for tops.
Game shot.
And 65 is found, and Dobey has daylight.
9 leg,
For the first time in this match, there is daylight between the two. 5-3, all-important timely break of throw, and Dobey now throwing for the match with the darts. 5 out of 10 on his double so far, and a very healthy average to boot as well. This is good stuff from Dobey, and it's had to be good as well at times.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It is really good from Chris Dobey, but Vítězslav Sedlák has made sure that it's been good. Because if it was any less than good, he'd be in trouble in this game. Really, really impressive. For a second time in this match, he kicks off with 4 perfect darts.
And but for a kinder draw, Sedlák, I think, might have fared a lot better today.
Certainly a number of games you could look at today where you'd put Sedlák's sort of display up against even a number of winners tonight, and he'd have certainly been in with a chance.
Yeah. As it is, he was up against a Premier League star, up against the Masters champion, and it may well not be enough. Dobey closing in, 76 plays 3-7-1. He's got plenty of leeway here. Maybe a little flourish, though, for Sedlák to round things off, maybe, before we go.
95. Christian requires 76.
Well, he reached the final day in Munich before losing out to Damon Heta. And it looks like he's going to move through the opening round. That's the worst dart he's thrown in the whole match. And this might be the last dart he throws in the whole match.
68.
Not yet, it isn't.
Now he'll throw at least one more. And I think come the culmination of this one, I think Dobey will acknowledge Sedlák's performance as well. He's that sort of player. He always takes the time to do that sort of thing. But it is Chris Dobey looking now at double 4 for a 13-dart finale to what has been, well, for many people, the performance of the day so far. Doesn't want to stutter over the line, but he's in the madhouse after all of this, Dan.
Oh, he's going to bust it.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that's sensible. Don't want to miss outside on double 1 and be stuck on double 1, knowing that he will come back. The interesting thing, if Sedlák was on a 170 finish, would he have gone for it then?
Well, take two here for Chris Dobey then. And this time he makes it pay. And Chris Dobey wraps up what I think is the performance of the day. A ton plus average, some very impressive finishing, but I think he was made to play well by his opponent. Sedlák with another eye-catching performance on the European Tour after his exploits in Prague last year. Another feather in his cap, but it's Dobey, the Premier League star and the Masters champion, who goes through to set up that meeting with Danny Noppert, winning by 6 legs to 3.